Winds of Refuge. In the early 1980s, Leon Tran found herself on a small, windswept island off the coast of South Asia. She was one of many refugees escaping the turmoil back home, seeking safety and a chance at a new life. The island, known as Pulau Keluarga, served as a temporary shelter for those fleeing the instability that plagued her country. It was a barren, rocky place, with little greenery but vast open skies and an endless ocean. Among the crowd of displaced souls, Leon felt incredibly alone. She was far from her family and any familiar faces. She spent her days waiting for news of where she might go next, waiting for a ship to arrive, waiting for a sense of hope. One day, while helping at the small clinic set up by volunteers, Leon met Emma Tan, a soft-spoken but resilient woman with a kind heart and a quiet smile. Emma had a background in nursing and had dedicated herself to helping others in the camp. Though they had little in common at first glance, they bonded over their shared love for literature and the deep loss they both carried from their pasts. Leon was drawn to Emma's calm strength. Emma was someone who seemed to bring warmth into every space she entered. In a place where despair often outweighed hope, Emma's gentle encouragement made a world of difference for Leon. She taught Leon how to focus on small, daily victories rather than the uncertain future. As the weeks went by, their friendship blossomed. They shared stories of their families, their dreams, and the lives they had left behind. They would sit by the shore at dusk, watching the waves crash against the rocks and talking about everything from poetry to the struggles they had endured. In those moments, they found peace in each other's company, a rare gift in such a turbulent place. Leon and Emma's bond grew deeper with time, becoming a lifeline that sustained them both. They faced hardships together, supported each other through illness, and comforted each other on the days when hope seemed out of reach. The affection they felt for each other transformed into a quiet, unspoken love, a bond neither of them could put into words but felt deeply. After several months, Leon's papers were processed, and she was given the opportunity to emigrate to Canada. She was overjoyed but torn at the thought of leaving Emma behind. The night before her departure, they sat together in silence by the sea, holding hands and letting the waves carry away their unspoken words. "Promise me you'll find happiness, no matter where life takes you," Emma whispered as they embraced for the last time. With tears in her eyes, Leon nodded, promising to carry Emma's kindness and strength with her as she started a new chapter of her life. Years later, Leon often thought back to those days on Pulau Keluarga. The memories of Emma's smile and her quiet strength remained with her, a reminder of the love they had shared amid hardship, a love that had given her the courage to rebuild her life. In Winds of Refuge, the story of Leon and Emma reflects the resilience and beauty of finding connection even in the darkest times. Their bond becomes a beacon of hope, illustrating the power of friendship and love amid uncertainty. Years passed, and Leon's life in Canada slowly took shape. She settled in Vancouver, surrounded by lush forests and misty mountains, a world away from the sun-baked rocks and harsh winds of Pulau Keluarga. She worked hard, learned English, and eventually went back to school, hoping to build a new life in this foreign land. But despite her successes, she never forgot Emma. Each night, as she lay in bed, Leon would remember the gentle way Emma had held her hand, the calmness of her voice, and the laughter they had shared on the island. She often wondered if Emma had been able to leave the island, if she had found her own way to a new life. In her heart, Leon held onto the hope that Emma was safe and happy, wherever she was. One winter afternoon, Leon received a letter from an old friend who had also been at Pulau Keluarga. They exchanged letters once or twice a year, keeping each other updated on their lives. This time, however, her friend's message was brief but astonishing. "I heard that Emma Tan made it to the United States. I don't know where she is exactly, but I thought you'd want to know." Leon's heart skipped a beat. Emma was alive. She had made it. For the first time in years, Leon allowed herself to dream of the possibility of seeing Emma again. Their hope was almost frightening, like a fragile flame she was afraid to fan too strongly in case it flickered out. Over the next few months, Leon poured herself into finding Emma. She wrote letters, contacted resettlement organizations, and searched for any trace of her friend. It was a slow and frustrating process, with many dead ends, but Leon refused to give up. One day, after nearly a year of searching, Leon received a response from an organization in California. They had limited records, but they confirmed that Emma Tan had been resettled in San Francisco. They provided no other details, but for Leon, it was enough. She had a place, a direction, and that was all she needed. In the spring of 1989, Leon boarded a bus from Vancouver to San Francisco, filled with both excitement and nerves. She hadn't seen Emma in nearly a decade. She didn't know if Emma would even remember her, or if her feelings would be reciprocated. But something in her heart told her she had to go. San Francisco was a bustling, colorful city, full of life and possibility. As she walked through the crowded streets, Leon felt the same mix of fear and wonder that she had felt when she'd first arrived in Canada. She had no specific address, only the faint hope that their paths would somehow cross in this vast city. On her second day there, Leon decided to visit Golden Gate Park, hoping the beauty of the gardens would calm her mind. She wandered through the Japanese tea garden, breathing in the scent of cherry blossoms, feeling the warmth of the sun on her face. For a moment, she closed her eyes and imagined she was back on the beach at Pulau Keluarga, sitting beside Emma. Leon. The voice was soft, hesitant, and unmistakably familiar. Leon opened her eyes and turned, her heart pounding. Standing a few feet away, with the same warm smile and gentle eyes, was Emma. For a moment, they just stared at each other, speechless. Then, without thinking, they embraced, each holding onto the other as if they were afraid to let go. They spent the rest of the day walking through the park, catching up on all the years that had passed. Emma told Leon about her life in California, her struggles to find work, and the small but fulfilling life she had built. Leon shared her own journey in Canada, the challenges of adapting to a new culture, and the dreams she had pursued. As the sun began to set, they found themselves back in the Japanese tea garden, sitting on a bench beneath a canopy of cherry blossoms. The world around them felt peaceful, as if time had slowed just for them. Emma, Leon began, her voice soft but steady. I've thought about you every day since we parted on Pulau Keluarga. You were the light that guided me through so many dark times. Emma reached out, gently taking Leon's hand in her own. I thought about you too. You gave me hope when I thought there was none left. They sat in silence for a long moment, simply holding hands, feeling the connection that had brought them back together after so many years. It was a love that didn't need words, a quiet, enduring bond that had survived time, distance, and hardship. As night fell, Leon and Emma left the garden hand in hand, ready to face whatever the future held together. They knew that their paths had crossed for a reason and that this second chance was a gift they would cherish forever. In the weeks following their reunion, Leon and Emma took time rediscovering each other's company. They spent hours walking through San Francisco's neighborhoods, exploring the vibrant markets in Chinatown, savoring sunsets by the Golden Gate Bridge, and sharing quiet, reflective evenings by the bay. The connection that had blossomed years ago on Pulau Keluarga had not faded with time. If anything, it felt stronger, anchored by their shared struggles and survival. Leon found herself settling into Emma's life, meeting the friends Emma had made in California, and hearing stories of how she'd adjusted to life in a new land. They talked about the challenges they both faced, of starting over, of finding work, of dealing with the constant ache of homesickness for places they couldn't return to. But with each story, they found a strange comfort in knowing they weren't alone in those experiences. One night, as they sat on a small rooftop in Emma's apartment building, overlooking the city lights, Emma reached into her pocket and pulled out a small, faded piece of fabric, a scrap from the blue shirt Leon had given her on Lgbtq. "I kept this," Emma said, her voice soft. "It was a part of you, something that reminded me of what kept me going all those years ago." Tears welled up in Leon's eyes. She reached out and gently touched the fabric, feeling the roughness of its worn threads. She had nearly forgotten about that shirt, but seeing it again brought back a flood of memories. It reminded her of the island, the long days, the endless waiting, the quiet moments she'd spent with Emma that had made it all bearable. "Emma," Leon said, her voice barely a whisper, "being with you back then saved me. I don't think I could have survived without you." Emma took her hand, and they sat in silence, letting the weight of the past settle between them, both grateful for the path that had led them back together. As time went on, their relationship grew stronger, their lives weaving together in ways both simple and profound. They shared the small routines of daily life, morning coffee, evening walks, and quiet weekends exploring the city. Each day felt like a new beginning, a second chance they hadn't dared to dream of back on Lgbtq. One rainy afternoon, Emma hesitated as they were sorting through some old belongings in her apartment. She pulled out a box of letters she had written but never sent, letters she'd addressed to Leon over the years. They were words she'd needed to say, confessions and hopes she hadn't been able to share with anyone else. Leon held the fragile papers, her hands trembling as she read Emma's words. The letters spoke of longing, of regret, of Emma's struggle to keep Leon's memory alive while moving forward with her own life. Some letters were joyful, others were filled with sorrow, but they all shared one common thread: Emma's enduring love for Leon. "I didn't know if you'd ever read these," Emma said softly. "But they were my way of holding on to you, even when I thought we'd never meet again." Leon carefully placed the letters back in the box and looked at Emma, her heart full. She realized that they had both carried each other in their hearts for so long, through all the miles and years. This love had been a constant, even when they'd been half a world apart. "I wish I could have told you sooner," Leon said, her voice choked with emotion. "But I'm here now, and I don't want to lose you again." Emma reached out and hugged her tightly, their embrace filled with the unspoken promises they had held onto all these years. Over time, they decided to move into a small apartment together, a cozy place nestled in a quiet corner of San Francisco. They built a life filled with laughter, warmth, and memories of their journey from the island to the city, a journey that had transformed both of them. Together, they became active in the local community, helping other refugees and immigrants who were struggling to find their footing. Their shared experiences made them a source of hope for others, showing that even in the darkest times, friendship and love could offer a way forward. As they grew older, they found peace in knowing they had finally found a place they could call home, not just in the city, but in each other. Their relationship, once born out of necessity and survival, had blossomed into something beautiful and enduring. Every year on the anniversary of their reunion, they would return to Golden Gate Park, sitting together on the same bench beneath the cherry blossoms, remembering their long journey. It was their quiet tradition, a moment to honor the past and celebrate the love they had found in each other. Leon would often look at Emma during those moments and marvel at the twists and turns that had led them to this life together. She felt gratitude for the strength that had carried them both through the hardest times, and for the chance to share a love that was as deep and constant as the tides. In Winds of Refuge, Leon and Emma's story became more than just a tale of survival. It was a testament to resilience, to love that defies time and distance, and to the hope that can carry us through the most challenging chapters of our lives.